Hey, hello! Welcome to the explanation of the terms intake and interlanguage. The first question we ask you is, where is intake? It has not been easy to describe the concept of intake. Corder and Crescent have both studied this term. And taking both into consideration, we came up with this definition. Intake is the part of the input which the learner accommodates to and internalizes. It describes the process of learning when new language moves from the short-term to the long-term memory. And a first point to note is that listening to comprehensible input does not always encourage intake. That means not all input becomes intake. And a second point to stress is that only when there has been intake is language actually learned, which means that language has been processed and organized.
And what about interlanguage? The term was coined in 1972 by Lawrence Lincoln, was intended to describe the competence of second language learners and the source of that competence. The idea was that learners possess a special competence or language that was independent of the first language and also independent of the second language, even though it might show influence from both. Interlanguage is therefore a unique linguistic system. Interlanguage is a system whose origins are found in the three basic concepts. First language transfer, second, over-generalization from second language pattern, and third, fossilization. But do all learners develop an interlanguage? 95% of learners do that. The concept of interlanguage involves the following premises about second language acquisition. First, the learners construct a system of abstract linguistic rules which underlines comprehension and production of second language. Second, the learner's grammar is permeable, and third, the learner's grammar is transitional. Fourth, learners employ various learning strategies to develop their interlanguages, and the different kinds of errors learners produce reflect different learning strategies.
And the last question is, which is the connection between intake and interlanguage? The concept of interlanguage can be viewed as a metaphor of how second language acquisition takes place. It implies that the human mind works like a computer. The learner is exposed to input, which is processed in two stages. First, part of it is attended to and taken into short-term memory. These are referred to as intake. Second, some of the intake is stored in long-term memory as L2 knowledge. The process responsible for creating intake and second language knowledge occur within the black box of the learner's mind where the learner's interlanguage is constructed. Finally, L2 knowledge is used by the learner to produce spoken and written output.
Created using Powtoon.